Hello, I'm Mrs. James. I'm going to be reading a book called Dear Mrs. LaRue, Letters from Obedience School. It's written and illustrated by Mark Teague, but the letters that are written here are from her dog Ike. Mrs. LaRue had to send Ike to obedience school because he was very naughty, getting into things. He would chase the neighbor's cats. He pulled her down and ruined her camel's hair coat, and he steals food off the counter. So she thought she better take him to obedience school. So he was sent away, and while he's there, he writes letters. And you can kind of tell from the pictures. One picture is actually what's happening at the obedience school, and the other picture is how he's portraying it. He wants his owner to think it's just horrible there because he wants to come home. So his first letter says, it's from October 1st. Dear Mrs. LaRue, how could you do this to me? This is a prison, not a school. You should see the other dogs. They are bad dogs, Mrs. LaRue. I do not fit in. Even the journey here was a horror. I'm very unhappy and may need something to chew on when I get home. Please come right away. Sincerely, Ike. Doesn't look too bad, actually, though. Dear Mrs. LaRue, were you really so upset about the chicken pie that I ate off the counter? You know you might have discussed it with me. You could have said, Ike, don't eat the chicken pie. I'm saving it for dinner. Would that have been so difficult? It would have prevented a lot of hard feelings. Needless to say, I'm being horribly mistreated. You say I should be patient and accept that I'm here through the term. Are you aware that the term lasts 2 months? Do you know how long that is in dog years? October 3rd, he writes, Dear Mrs. LaRue, I'd like to clear up some misconceptions about the Hibbins cats. First, they're hardly the little angels Mrs. Hibbins makes them out to be. Second, how should I know what they were doing out on the fire escape in the middle of January? They were being a bit melodramatic, don't you think? The way they cried and refused to come down. It's hard to believe they were really sick for 3 whole days. But you know cats. Your dog, Ike. Dear Mrs. LaRue, you should see what goes on around here. The way my warden, Miss Klondike, barks orders is shocking. Day after day, I'm forced to perform the most meaningless tasks. Today it was sit and roll over all day long. I flatly refuse to roll over. It's ridiculous. I won't do it. Of course I was severely punished. Doesn't really look like he's being severely punished, does it? But this is what he wants Mrs. LaRue to think is happening. Dear Mrs. LaRue, the guards here are all caught up in this good dog, bad dog thing. I hear it constantly. Good dog, Ike. Don't be a bad dog, Ike. Is it really so good to sit still like a lummox all day? Nevertheless, I refuse to be broken. Miss Klondike has taken my typewriter. She claims it disturbs the other dogs. Does anybody care that the other dogs disturb me? So now his typewriter got taken away, so he's going to be writing his letters. And look at him lounging in his room, and it looks like he's drinking a smoothie, but he wants Mrs. LaRue to think he's in a prison. Dear Mrs. LaRue, were the neighbors really complaining about my howling? It is hard to imagine. First, I didn't howl that much. You were away those nights, so you wouldn't know. But trust me, it was quite moderate. Second, let's recall that there are some that they are the same neighbors who are constantly waking me up in the middle of the afternoon with their loud vacuuming. I say we all have to learn to get along. My life here continues to be a nightmare. You wouldn't believe what goes on in the cafeteria. Sincerely, Ike. P.S. I don't want to alarm you, but the thought of escape has crossed my mind. Dear Mrs. LaRue, I hate to tell you this, but I am terribly ill. It started in my paw, causing me to limp all day. Later, I felt queasy so that I could barely eat dinner, except for that yummy gravy. Then I began to moan and howl. Finally, I had to be taken to the vet. Dr. Wilfrey claims that he can't find anything wrong with me, but I'm certain I have an awful disease. I must come home at once. Honestly yours, Ike. Dear Mrs. LaRue, thank you for the lovely get well card. Still, I'm a little surprised that you didn't come and get me. I know what Dr. Wilfrey says, but is it really wise to take risks with one's health? I could have a relapse, you know. With fall here, I think about all the fine times we used to have in the park. Remember how sometimes you would bring along a tennis ball? You would throw it and I would retrieve it every time, except for once when it landed in something nasty and I brought you back a stick instead. Ah, how I miss those days. Yours truly, Ike. P.S. Imagine how awful it is for me to be stuck inside my tiny cell. P.P.S. I still feel pretty sick. And look at him, he's out enjoying a pumpkin festival at the obedience school, but he's making Mrs. LaRue think he's in a tiny little cell. Dear Mrs. LaRue, by the time you read this, I will be gone. I have decided to attempt a daring escape. I'm sorry it has to come to this, since I'm really a very good dog, but frankly, you left me no choice. How sad it is not to be appreciated. From now on, I'll wander from town to town without a home, or even any dog food, most likely. Such is the life of a desperate outlaw. I will try to write to you from time to time as I carry on with my life of hardship and danger. Your lonely fugitive, Ike. Okay, so then there was an article in the newspaper about his escape. And then there was an award, or a reward for his return to the obedience school. Dear Mrs. LaRue, I'm writing to you from somewhere in America. I continue to suffer horribly as I roam this barren wasteland. Who knows where my wanderings will take me now? Hopefully to some place with yummy food. Remember the special treats you used to make for me? I miss them. I miss our nice, comfy apartment, but mostly I miss you, your sad dog, Ike. P.S. I even miss the Hibbins cats, in a way. So here he is enjoying a nice lunch, but his letters make it look like he's just miserable. Dear Mrs. LaRue, the world is a hard and cruel place for a stray dog. You would scarcely believe the misery I've endured, so I've decided to return home. You may try to lock me up again, but that is a risk I must take. And frankly, even more than myself, I worry about you. You may not know it, Mrs. LaRue, but you need a dog. Your misunderstood friend, Ike. So then there's another article in the paper. Hero dog saves owner. Ike LaRue, until recently a student at the Rottweiler Academy, returned to Snort City yesterday in dramatic fashion. In fact, he arrived just in time to rescue his owner, Mrs. LaRue, from an oncoming truck. Mrs. LaRue had made the trip downtown to purchase a new coat. Apparently, she neglected to look both ways before stepping into traffic. The daring rescue was witnessed by several onlookers. He rolled right across 2 lanes of traffic to get her. It was really something. I haven't seen rolling like that since I left the police academy. Mrs. LaRue was unhurt in the incident, though her coat was badly torn. I don't care about that, she said. I'm just happy to have Ike back home where he belongs. LaRue said she plans to throw a big party for the dog. All the neighbors will be there. I'm going to serve Ike's favorite dishes. And there's the Hibbins cats looking on. She's going to serve his favorite chicken pot pie. But look, he already got to it and is eating it. Okay, this is my dog, Cowboy. He is a therapy dog. We come into the schools in normal school years, and he'll be anxious to get back and meet some of you kids, hopefully sometime this year, if not next year. Thank you.